In this video, we will be discussing how to replace a diaphragm in the SEP10. For this process, you will need your separator, a 4mm hex driver, a 2mm hex driver, a replacement diaphragm, a separator calibration gauge, a diaphragm calibration tube, and tweezers. To check on the status of the diaphragm in your separator, tee in the separator calibration gauge between the back loop of the non-wetting side of the diaphragm and a pump. Replacing the diaphragm is necessary when the separator calibration gauge is in the red area when flowing water through the non-wetting side of the diaphragm at 5 ml per minute. To replace the diaphragm, begin by removing the 6 external screws from the device using the 4mm hex driver. Open the device and use the 2mm hex driver to remove the screws holding the metal diaphragm frame in place. Remove the metal frame and discard the old plastic diaphragm. Using tweezers, take out a new diaphragm. Use a few of the screws to orient the diaphragm in the metal frame and tighten one turn into the separator using the 2mm hex driver. Insert the remaining screws and tighten one turn. Lift the metal frame and diaphragm off of the separator and move the 2mm hex driver around underneath to ensure the diaphragm is not caught on anything. Place the frame and diaphragm back against the separator and begin tightening the screws in a star pattern until finger tight or to 0.2 Nm as measured by a torque wrench. Close the device and tighten the 6 external screws in a star pattern using the 4mm hex driver until hand tight or to 2 Nm as measured by a torque wrench. Remove the back loop of the non-wetting side from the diaphragm and connect a pump. Attach the diaphragm calibration tube to the non-wetting outlet. If the device you are priming was made before 2020, flow through the diaphragm at 5 ml per minute for 3 minutes. Otherwise, flow through the diaphragm at 4 ml per minute for 1 minute and 45 seconds. Disconnect the separator calibration tube from the non-wetting outlet. Reconnect the separator calibration gauge to the non-wetting side of the diaphragm and flow water at 5 ml per minute. If the calibration gauge is still in the yellow area, remove the separator calibration gauge, reattach the calibration tube to the non-wetting outlet, and reprime the diaphragm by flowing water at the appropriate flow rate for your device, but now only for 30 seconds as to not overprime the diaphragm. Continue repriming the diaphragm until the separator calibration gauge is in the green area when flowing water through the non-wetting side of the diaphragm at 5 ml per minute.